Welcome back. In this lesson, I'm going to be showing you how to make the English boxwood. So boxwood is going to be these little small leaves here, all right? And obviously there are different styles of boxwood. There's also, as well as just a regular green, there's also variegated boxwood. I grow a lot of boxwood trees and have different varieties. But anyway, so this is English style boxwood and the two leaves. These little tiny leaves could also be used for other leaves like jasmine and little small leaves for all sorts of decoration with wire or unwired. So you could use these for many, many applications on cake or in wired flowers. Now, when we do the boxwood, we have a small and we have a large cavity here. And very similar to the way I did the seeded eucalyptus, I'm going to start off showing you how to make the large leaves. So because I have to make multiples of these, you can see here, this is the boxwood, all right? So the boxwood, would have 30, 40 in a spray like this. So you make lots of leaves, but they're very simple to make, as you will see. So they're not that time consuming, but look really stunning when they're put together. Boxwood could, of course, be formed into a wreath. You could do a heart shape, but you could do a beautiful classic wreath with a bow on there. And you can make these in different shapes, or you can use them in small sprays as well internally throughout the flowers. So when we make the boxwood, we're going to start off. I'm using here just like a grass green color. All right. So like you could color this with some grass green or moss green color. So I'm going to start off with a number 7. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a number 7 size. So 1/3 below, 2/3 above with a number 7. And I'm going to take a little bit of my vegetable shortening into here. And then I'm going to roll this into a sausage and I'm going to cut this into 12 pieces. Now this is going to then give me 12 number 3 small balls of paste. Okay, so very similar to the way I showed you the seeded eucalyptus, but I used the number 6 there. So you're just going to roll this into a sausage. Remember, it doesn't matter how long the sausage is, but just as I said, now you could use a ruler if you wanted to, so you can make it like 4 centimeters and then cut it into quarters and each quarter into third. But generally I just do this by eye. So you're going to then cut the paste in half and then you're going to cut each half into, and then you see, so you've got quarters. And now what you're going to do is you're going to now cut each of the quarters into 1/3, into 3. So this will give you number 3 small sizes. Because if you were making, let's say, 48 of this large size leaf, to actually physically measure 48 number 3 small balls of paste, it takes a little time. So this is a technique I use in a lot of my classes when I'm doing multiples of the same size, okay? So then you would just keep this covered. So you just would have that covered with a little cup. So of course you could cut, you could cut 12, 24, 36. So we're going to take the wire first. Now this wire is a 30 gauge wire, okay? And I'm using green wire. Now the reason I'm using green wire is because I'm going to tape these. I'm not going to pre-tape the end of the stem as I've done on the other leaves I've shown on these videos. So a little bit like rose leaves. Generally when I make this, I would use green wire, not white wire, okay? When you're taping, it doesn't matter. But so you're going to take and then I'm actually going to cut this into half. Okay, so I'm going to cut that into half. And then I'm going to cut these into thirds. So I'm using 1/6 length wires here. Okay, so it's going to give you the wires there. So just going to cut a lot of those. Now, so then you're going to take your piece of paste. Just going to condition that. So a little bit of shortening into it. And I'm going to dip the end of the wire into my egg white. And I'm going to actually push this through. Going to actually physically push this through the little pearls. You see the wire comes out the end there, like that. So I have about 5 millimeters down from the end. Take a little cornstarch. Now I'm going to just mold it into like a cone shape, like a carrot shape. The wire is really pretty much right at the end there. Okay, so the wire is right at the top. Now you're going to then just take your little, this is the large cavity again, just a little tiny bit of shortening into their vegetable fat. I'm going to put this in. And then you can just use literally your finger here and just press this in with your finger. You can use your cosmetic sponge if you want to, but usually the finger will work fine on this. Now for the back veiner, because this is so small, I'm literally going to just take my companion tool and I'm just going to just mark a line down the back there, which you can leave it just like that. Or you can also just mark like 3 little lines. You're just going to do like just a scratch down the middle and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Basic little leaf. All right, just take this out of the mold. And then all you're going to do is just going to hollow the base of this So you're just going to pinch that around the pointed end of the companion tool. All right, and that's all you do with the leaf. So you just would make 12, 24, 36, 48, 150, however many you feel you need. So this, as I said, they use a lot of leaves, but it's a beautiful leaf and has very, very stunning and used in an arrangement, but also is very quick and easy to make. Now, when we make the small leaves, all right, you will do exactly the same as I showed for the seeded eucalyptus, and I've just shown you for the, So what I've done here is I've taken a number 6 size ball of paste, rolled it into a sausage, and then with a number 6 ball of paste, cut it into 12, and that gives me 12 number 2 size balls of paste, all right? So I'll just show you one of the number 2 size balls of paste. Now, you don't want to cut too many at one time and have them, and you can also cut them and put them in a little plastic bag, and then you can, of course, do those as you take out a few at a time. But again, just to show you the number 2, so you're going to take your wire, going to dip your wire into your egg white, just push that through the paste, little ball of paste here like so, and then with a little cornstarch on your fingers, going to just make that into a little cone shape like that. Remember, just put a little tiny bit of vegetable fat shortening into the mold cavity here. Going to position this on the top, just press this in. Now remember, you can use your cosmetic sponge technique as well, but you can just use your finger. But it's going to fill the mold up level, all right? So this is going to just be squashed really pretty much level in the mold. And then remember, you're going to take the little companion tool, and you can either just do like a vein down the back, so you can just do like a little scratch down the back and pop it out the mold, or you can also just go in and just do like 3 little lines each side, 1, 2, 3, like that. Just remove that from the mold. You have this beautiful little leaf. And then you're just going to take that and just hollow the base of that like so, okay? So that gives you your 2 sizes of boxwood leaf, which, as I said, this is a very useful leaf for little small flowers and many, many things we do on cakes, decorations on the side of the cake, unwired as well. So we're going to let these dry. They don't take long to dry because they're quite small, and then we're going to put these together. So for assembly of the boxwood, we're going to assemble your components into little groups of usually 3 or 4, all right? You could also do 2s as well, but you're going to use, so I've got to do a small leaf and then a large leaf and a large leaf, okay? But you could do 3 large, 3 small, because you want that sort of variegation in, obviously, they're not all exactly the same. So when you do this, we're going to just take the quarter width tape, all right? So with my quarter width tape, I'm going to just start the tape here. Now this is going to be like your leader wire. So you're just going to tape and just going to slide that up to the bottom. It's going to come down. All right, it's just going to come down here about, just over 1 centimeter. Okay, and then you're going to take so using the fine tweezers, you're just going to then just bend to the right, to the left, to the right. Okay, so basically what you do is just going to put the leaves in. So you're just going to stagger them. And I said the reason why we use green floral tape here is because we're not going to pre-tape because they're so tiny, you can imagine having to sort of slide the tape on all of these would take forever. Now remember, a little tip here is if you can see the end of the wire, if you don't bend it close enough, and that's also why you want to use fine tweezers, not like pliers, because if we use, say, for example, pliers, you're going to have about 3 millimeters of you're going to have wire bent out about 3 millimeters visibly visible. But what you can do here is you can just find the leaf and just tug that leaf, and you see how you just pull that leaf with that wire, and that will pull it in nice and tightly, okay? But because if we use white wire, of course, white wire will be more visible, and then you're just going to stagger this, so then this one will just be staggered, and I'm just going to stagger that. So it's going to come around here. Remember, use a little cornstarch if you need to, but we're using quarter width floral tape here. I'm going to show you here a group of 4, okay? So you're going to just do a little group of 4 like this. And just going to take down. So you would make all of these little components, you see, like this. Now, when you put this together, okay, you're going to put this together. So you're going to start off with just one of your pieces. And then very much the same, we're going to go to the right and to the left, okay? And so you're just going to put this into position here like that. And then at that point, you can add a 22 gauge wire. Now, if you were going to do like a wreath or like a, like a circle or a heart shape on the cake, you of course could use a full length wire, and then you're going to need to add another one a little bit further on. But you're just going to start with a 22 intersect there, And I'm just going to use the quarter width tape here to tape this down like this. Now boxwood, of course, is used a lot at Christmas time at the holidays and for wreaths and things like that. And so you can, of course, do little groups like this. So you're just going to put this together. So it just sort of almost like layers over the top. So you just see then the next one would go like this. Because boxwood is a bit like a, you know, like a hedge, privet hedge, you have to sort of constantly manicure it, you know, to obviously to get the shape of your topiary. I said I grow a lot of boxwood, so obviously, you know, cut them having the classic English cone shape or ball shape or whatever, so it grows pretty quickly. But you can make this in all different shapes. But you see, even just a small little spray of leaves like this will look really pretty with flowers, you know, with different wedding bridal flowers. So that's how you can see this one is a larger spray, how we would put the boxwood together. So now the boxwood is ready for a coloring. I'm going to use a foliage green. So this is sort of just like a sort of mossy green color I've used quite a lot. And so when we do the boxwood, if you look at the finished one here, you can see you want darker on the front and lighter on the back, okay? And that's sort of characteristic, and it will make the leaf, and that's why you made it in a fairly bright green. With the boxwood, you can actually just literally just place this and just dust this onto the front of the leaf only. So you're just using this foliage green, and we're just dusting this onto the front of the leaf. So I'm actually going to leave the back of the leaf the natural color of the paste. So having the, you know, two sizes, you're using a combination of both of those. Just so see how you're going to do that on the front, and then the back will be this sort of lighter green color, okay? And then once we've done that, I'm going to take a little bit of pale chocolate. So I'm going to use some pale chocolate here. And then with some chocolate, so that's chocolate and corn flour, I'm just going to sort of brush that into just up the back of the stem. So because the stem has a little bit of a light browny color to it. So you're just going to brush a little bit of that, just sort of the base. And of course you can use your fingers and just move that around a little bit. But so you're just going to put a little bit of brown onto there. And you're just going to put this down into here like so, okay? Once we've got the color on there, the next step is going to be to steam this. The steam will just set the color on here. So we're just going to put the steamer onto the leaves. So this is going to steam, and remember this is going to just sort of set the powder, okay? And then once we've set the powder, we'll be ready for the last step. Now, boxwood is a shiny leaf, unlike the eucalyptus, which is just steamed only. The boxwood and the Italian Ruscus will both have more of a shine, so they're going to be sprayed with edible spray lacquer. So you can see here the steam, so we're just going to just steam that. That will just sort of set the powder. And then once you've got the steam on here, and remember when you're using the spray lacquer, just need to make sure you sort of protect your table. A lot of times I'll do this in a rubbish bin, a trash can, or you can do it in a box, something that protected, okay? And then you're just going to just lightly spray, so using the spray lacquer. Alternatively, you can also use like a leaf glaze, which remember the leaf glaze we talked about in some of the other videos. This is half glaze and half grain alcohol, that just is a brush method, but usually, you know, this is a little bit quicker. So you're just going to just gently spray over the leaf, front and back, just a light spraying, and that's going to give you the beautiful leaf, all right? And so you can see here that when you have your boxwood, but your boxwood is really, again, obviously shiny when you first spray it, but that will evaporate. But you'll have your really nice boxwood leaves, all right? So these are really fun little tiny leaf, but used in lots of different ways. And again, if you look on the internet and you search for like boxwood topiaries, you know, you could of course make this in a set of wreath shape. You could do a heart shape. You can do it in different ways, or just use them as little small groups of leaves. Like a floral designer will often use little sprigs of boxwood like this in a boutonniere, in a corsage, used in a bridal bouquet, just tucked in amongst the flowers. So a very good addition to your wedding foliage. So in this segment, I'm going to show you how to do Italian Ruscus. Now, Italian Ruscus is again a very popular foliage used in bridal bouquets and wedding flowers. And the Ruscus family again is quite expansive, but this is called Italian Ruscus, and it's this longer, slightly pointed leaf. Now this cavity we're using here, this is going to be the 3 cavities that have the lateral lines on them. So they've got the lateral central lines on here, so they've just got vertical lines. Whereas obviously the seeded eucalyptus is the one that has the lateral vein and then has those sub veins off the side of it. So these are the 3 sizes. Other uses for this would be for example, you can use this for making things like palm leaves, bamboo leaves, you know, lucky bamboo leaves. So it's useful for tropical sort of foliage as well. But we're going to use this for the Italian Ruscus. Now we're going to use wire, so we're going to use 28 gauge. I'm using green wire, but you could also use white wire here as well. It doesn't matter because it's going to be covered with floral tape. And this shows you the 3 sizes of the leaves. So again, pretty simply made. Going to take your paste. So I'm going to again use just same color I used for the boxwood. So this is just like a leaf green color, grass green color. And I'm going to measure off your paste. And we want a number 5 small, a number 6. So 5 small, and then a number 6 small and a number 6. All right. So the smallest leaves will be done with a number 5. All right, so this is going to be number 5 small. So this one is going to be number 5 small here. And then the medium one will be number 6 small. So there will be number 6 that just goes through the hole. All right, so it will be number 6 small. So 5 small, 6 small. And then you have then the larger leaf will be done with a regular number 6. All right, so you've got 5 small, 6 small, and 6. Okay, and those will be your sizes of your leaves. So again, we're just going to pop these underneath. If you use a little silicone mat and then put your cup or glass, that forms like an airtight seal on there, so it stops the paste drying out. Now, when we do the Ruscus leaves, again, 2 ways to do this. We can do it the way I showed the eucalyptus, the first 2 types of eucalyptus, where you push the paste in, establish a ridge, and then insert your wire. Alternatively, you can also do this like I showed on the seeded eucalyptus, where you actually put the wire through, or on the boxwood and then press it into the mold. So really, it's up to you, whatever you find easiest. I'm going to actually show you this inserting the wire afterwards, but you could, just to give you options. So you're going to take your paste. I'm going to put a little tiny bit of vegetable. So actually everything, all the cavities on here, except for the actual seed, you don't have to do that. But because the leaves are all quite shallow, we're going to put just a little tiny bit of vegetable fat on there. Remember, when you finish, just wash those in warm soapy water and let them dry. I just pop my molds. Once I wash them, I put them in my food dehydrator. That's a quick way to dry them. But just let them air dry. Make sure they're totally dry before you pack them away. And then you can, then of course, also put them in the dishwasher as well. So when you put the, when you roll your sausage, you'd roll your sausage like this. And of course I could insert the wire in here now and then just mold it a little bit past the end. And I'm going to put just a little touch of cornstarch onto the end, corn flour onto the end of the mold here. Just going to flatten this into the mold. And then I'm going to use my, so just going to take my cosmetic sponge here. Just work this to the edges so it will become a little bit thinner. Of course, you can also go in there with your Dresden tool as well, just to get that right in that tip, okay? I'm just going to work your paste to the edge. So some of the leaves, like the boxwood, are just pretty much the thickness, but these ones are, you know, the other ones are going to just be a little bit thinner on your edge, okay? Then once we've done that, we're going to establish the ridge. So remember, you can use your finger here just to establish like a slight ridge there in your paste, or you can use your companion tool. I'm going to take the wire, so this is the 28 gauge green wire. I'm going to insert this into the leaf here. So it's just going to go into the leaf. I'm going to pop this in. You want to sort of feel it tickle your finger into the leaf there, so a little bit past halfway. And if the wire comes out, you can just sort of press it back into the paste. You know, you can actually also pull it back in and then just re-thread it in and just press over the top of it. But as I say, try both techniques and see, you know, like the seeded eucalyptus I showed doing the sausage, see which you find easiest, what you get on well with, okay? Now, once we've done that, we're going to vein the back of this. Now, there are a couple of options you have, okay? One of them is to use the fan veiner. So the fan veiner comes with the sunflower, the ultimate sunflower, Gerber daisy, and daisy mold. We also do sell this separately. So this is sold as a separate mold because on my ginkgo leaf from my maple and ivy leaf mold, I use this for the back of the ginkgo, and also on the poppy, I show using this on the back of the poppy petals. So this is sold as a separate one, and this will give you the lines. And then alternatively, you can also do this with the lily. So this is the back veinner that comes with the lily. All right, so this is not sold separately, but it comes with the lily. So if you have that, you could use this. All right, so I'm just going to show you the fan one. So just position that. So the point of the veinner, as you can see, is on the wire here, like so. I'm just going to just press that, just rub up down there. So you're just going to get these lines on the back of your leaf, okay? And then all we're going to do here is going to just take this out. And on the Ruscus, so you see how you have these nice lines. On the Ruscus, we're just going to take our companion tool and we're just going to hollow the leaf here. And I'm just going to just pinch it to a slight point on the end, okay? So you're going to pinch to a slight point and hollow. We don't soften this because the Ruscus leaf is a fairly basic leaf, okay? And then again, you can dry this, and I'm just drying it in the crepe foam. So you just lay them into the crepe foam like this. So the tips will just bend over slightly, but they'll almost create this taco shape, all right? And so we're gonna put that into there to dry. And that is how we make the Italian Ruscus leaves. So these will dry, and then we're gonna move on to the assembly in the next step. So once the Italian Ruscus leaves are dry, we're ready to move on to tape. I'm using dark green tape here. You could also use a moss green, but they are just a dark green leaf. And so you're just going to take your, just like I've shown before, just going to tape around with half-width green tape, slide up to the bottom, come down about 2.5 centimeters, about 1 inch down the wire, okay? Now, once you get that group together, you're going to just put these together in like little groupings, all right? So you're going to take your, so you could do a small and a medium one. Just going to just sort of tape those where they naturally meet. I'm just going to start taping these together. And then you could add a large one to there as well. So you're just going to come down a little ways. You could put in a large one here like so. So just like a lot of the other foliage, you just do them in sort of natural little groups like this. This is very much like, as I said, a bamboo leaf. You know, if you're doing bamboo, you generally just tape those in chocolate brown. And then here I'm going to take the, with the green color here, I'm going to tape this together like so. I'm just going to show you just putting these two groupings together. So when we put this together, 22 gauge wire. Okay, so when you want to start the spray, you just start here. Of course, you could use it just like this, and if this was going to go into a spray, you could just use it on the existing wires it's actually on. We generally only put these longer wires when you're using it in more of an arrangement, because when a floral designer does a, you know, bridal bouquet, they're really cutting the stems and using them fairly short. Whereas in a floral arrangement, you're generally sometimes adding wires. And see, so you're just going to add the wire here like this. I'm just going to tape down, and then you can just take two more if you want strength. Remember, if you're using this like this, just leave one wire, but if you wanted it sort of more visible, a little bit more strength, you'd add two more 22 gauge wires underneath the last one. So that would just give you a stem. But this is all done in half-width tape in the dark green. So it's going to just tape down to the bottom here. And then once we tape down to the bottom, be able to just trim off the excess wires here. And this will be your Italian Ruscus, and this is going to be ready for the next step, which is going to be the coloring. So finishing the Italian Ruscus, we're going to, it's very simple. This is actually the simplest of all of the foliage I'm showing from this mold. This is a color called forest green, so a slightly sort of dark bluey green color, and really very similar color to the floral tape. And I'm literally just going to brush all over the leaf front and back, okay? So it's just going to give you this dark. So having that sort of fairly bright grass green, leaf green color gives you a foundation. We're just going to put the green, the darker green on top of this. Because these leaves are flat, they don't really have a lot of shape. We can actually dust like I'm showing you here. You can't do that with leaves that have got more shape to them because you will break them. But on this type of leaf, this is pretty easy to do. So just going to brush all over the top with this color. Because the Italian Ruscus is this just dark green color, shiny leaf. And this is used a lot, you know, in bridal bouquets and things. So this is just going to go over the surface of here, okay? And because this color is all over, we don't need to steam this leaf because this leaf is, you know, doesn't have like a front and back a different color like on the boxwood. And then again, we're going to just take in the, just going to protect your table. And then we were just going to take some spray lacquer or half strength glaze with a brush and just going to just spray over the top of the leaf here. You see how you're going to get that beautiful dark green on there. And then just let that dry. And again, you can see here, obviously the leaf will have that nice shine, but this is going to give you the Italian Ruscus. So a nice dark green. And, you know, this, as I said, works well with like, you know, Asian inspired cakes as well, because it has a little bit of look like bamboo, but not being actually physically bamboo leaves. So that's the Italian Ruscus, another fun one from the Wedding Foliage mold by Flower Pro. In this final video, I will be showing you how to create the Dusty Miller or the Cineraria. This is an extremely popular bridal foliage. Again, like the eucalyptus, has this beautiful, sort of really nicely shaggy shaped leaf with a little bit of texture on it. And it's sort of a white sort of eucalyptus color. So it's a really fun leaf to use. And of course, you could also make this in green or in other colors and use as a sort of just as a foliage. And but as I said, this is a sort of traditional color. Now with this, what I did is I started off with white paste, and then I've used, you can use like a little bit of like an aqua teal sea green color. That's sort of like aqua teal color, and a little bit of gray. Okay, so you can actually just make this sort of color. So you just want this natural color. So again, of course, you can also combine the paste together. So if you look on the internet again as well, just put in the Dusty Miller, you'll see there obviously different variations in the color you need. So anyway, so I'm going to use a number 7 small, all right, for the small leaf, and a number 8 small for the large leaf, okay? So 7 small and 8 small. When we use this leaf, so all of the cavities on this mold, I am using the little bit of vegetable, shortening vegetable fat, white fat on here, all right? I'm just going to just rub this just gently over the mold just to make sure, because it is flat, this just helps to keep this in, okay? Now this we're going to do in a slightly different way than other leaves we've done. Now you could put the piece of paste on a wire, put this in and then press it towards the edge of the leaf like shown on some of the other videos, pressing it in with the Dresden tool, but I'm going to show you another way. And this includes the use of the new little Flexi Scraper. So this is a very flexible scraper. So I'm going to show you how to use this to sort of really make this a little quicker. So we're going to roll your paste into a sausage, all right? So your sausage wants to be about half the length of the actual leaf. And I'm going to take some corn flour, cornstarch here, just sort of fairly generously go over that. So in addition to the obviously shortening on here, I was going to press this into the mold, and now I'm going to press this in with my cosmetic sponge. So just sort of work this to the edge of the, see how I'm just working this to the edge, and just working it down like this. So just make sure you get this filled all the way to the edge of the mold, okay? Now, if you should have any areas where you maybe, you know, need a little bit more paste, you can just take a little tiny bit of extra paste like this. I don't need it, but like if you had a little area, you can just basically just patch from the back. So if you need a little bit more paste here, you literally can just press that in from the back there. You want to come about halfway down this, because obviously this is not the full length of the wire. Now, once you've got this in here, you're going to take your Flexi Scraper. So this is very flexible. And just like I've shown on some of the other elements of Flower Pro, but never use this sort of like over the whole of a leaf. But like, for example, Lily of the Valley and things, I do this. So I'm going to use the little Flexi Scraper. And then what we're going to do here, we're going to use a sawing action. So you're just going to just gently saw like this, and you see how it will then cut off the paste. Now, then you're going to press this in. So you do this from the center to the outside, and then you're going to turn this over, and then we're going to just do this here like this. Now, sometimes when you do this, you know, the paste will just come out. So for example, like let's say when you're doing this, you have a little bit of paste that like lifts out or tears or doesn't fill to the end of the mold. You can literally patch it like almost like a Band-Aid like a bandaged here, and then you can just re-trim that. All right, so if you do have any areas where it doesn't go all the way to the end there, you just refill that off. Okay, and then we're going to come down to here, about halfway down. And again, if it's a little bit thin there, you can just use just fill that in and just gonna come down with your scraper like this, okay? And then I'm going to just, about this point here, about 1 centimeter past that last little piece, I'm going to pull that away because that's really like the end of the leaf, okay? And in my earlier videos, you know, I used a little blue scraper. So this little blue scraper, this is really like the same, you know, it's nice and flexible, but so this is the new Flower Pro version, so it works really, really well. Plus, that's also excellent to use on other Katy Sue molds as well, Creative Cake System. Once we get to here, we're going to take a wire. So we're using 26 gauge wire here. So everything else I've shown in the Wedding Foliage, everything here is done with 28 gauge wire, except for the Boxwood, which is 30, but these are all 28 gauge wires for these. And remember, some white wires, some green wires, specific to the color of the leaf we're doing. So we're going to take the wire here. So I'm going to take the wire. Now I'm just going to put this in the bottom of the channel, all right? I'm just going to sort of start to push this in to the leaf. And you should feel it tickle your finger as it goes into the leaf. All right, and just going to get it in there. So it's going to come up to basically to this intersection here, the wire here, okay? And just make sure that that's in place. Now, if you put in the wire in, so like, you know, when you put in the wire in, if you realize that, for example, the wire hasn't gone in straight or it comes out, you know, you can basically thread it back in. So it's pretty easy to do. But just keep your finger on the top and that will ensure that it stays in place. And then I'm just going to press on the top with your cosmetic sponge, okay? And then we're going to then use the back vein. So again, I'm using the back of the poinsettia here. Again, you know, this is really an optional step. You don't necessarily have to do this, but I'm going to put the back of so the wire comes out of that V shape. Just going to press this in to here like so, okay? And then when we take this out, all right, we're going to turn this over and then just going to peel the paste back. And then using your little scraper, you're going to use your little scraper here. This will come out here. Now, the wire is a little bit visible. Don't worry about it because the thing is because this is white and the way it's colored, it's not going to notice. All right, and that's why we use the white wire. And so then you're going to take this, going to turn it over. And then we're going to use the Dresden tool. All right, so we're just going to work the back of the leaf. So this is the back little fronds here, like so. And that's going to give you this shaggy effect, all right? And then with your companion tool, so with your companion tool, you're going to put your companion tool here, and I'm just going to sort of pinch the paste around this because you want this sort of almost like it wraps around here, like so. And then you're going to place this to dry into a crepe foam former. So it just dries into the former like this. And so you see how it will sort of give you this nice shape to the leaf, all right? But you can see the white wire is a little bit visible there, but that's why we've used white wire as well, okay? Because it's quite a thin leaf, it's not too thick. And as I said, we're just gonna leave these to dry. Now, when we do the small one, you do exactly the same technique, all right? So the small one would be done, and that is done with the, you're using the number 7 small. So obviously that is pressed into this cavity here with the vegetable shortening fat in there, and then the 26 gauge wire. All right, so that's the, as I said, technique, but just remember it's a sawing action, so you hold your scraper quite flat, all right, not at an angle, so you hold it quite flat, and you're using a sawing action like back and forward like this, okay? And then remember, once you get the first half done, press it in with the sponge, and then you work from the middle to the top. And then remember, if you do have any little areas where it pulls out, just patch it. It's fine to do that. And that's just a quick way to do it. But alternatively, as I said, you can press a sausage of paste in there and you can work it in with the Dresden tool into each of the cavities, a little bit like I showed on the fern. It's just, this is a way I found it's a little bit quicker to actually sort of get that nice clean look using the little Flexi Scraper. Okay. So we're going to let those dry, and the next step is going to be the coloring and putting together of those. So we've let the leaves dry, the dusty miller. And also when you're making the leaves, you can also, if you want to give them a little bit of shape, you can actually also bend the wire as well. So as while the leaf is flexible, you know, and soft, you can actually sort of give that a little bit of curve Usually I just dry them like that, but as I said, in the end tip over, but you can actually bend them physically if you wanted to. You let those dry, okay? So once the leaf is dry, we're going to take the floral tape. Now I'm using half-width gray floral tape. So this is the gray color. I used one of the eucalyptuses. If you don't have this, you could use white floral tape. And then because you're just going to dust it with a little bit of pale brown. So you could just use white or even brown, but white would be what I'd recommend if you don't have the gray. So just going to take down about 2.5 centimeters down there, like so. And then we will put the leaves together. So we're just going to start the leaf. You can see here we have this, you know, like the smaller leaves and then the larger leaves here. So you're just going to just take the smaller leaves and I'm just going to add the leaves here. They grow in little groups. But again, you know, on a smaller spray for a wedding cake, you could of course use them individual. Now, if you should, when you're putting the leaves together, you know, because especially the large leaf is quite, you know, quite fragile in sugar. So if you should break off a piece of a leaf, I mean, really don't worry about it because it sort of looks natural. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with using that because by the time this is colored and things, it will look like it's just meant to be like that. So don't get too stressed if you do lose a little bit of the leaf because it is. And that's also why the wire wants to go in about 3/4 of the way because your wire acts like a bit like your spine. It's going to give support all the way through. Whereas most leaves, we only put the wire like halfway up, but having the wire to the top there is going to give much more strength. And then I'm going to take a 22 gauge wire. So at this intersection where those leaves meet, I'm going to just add a 22 gauge wire. And then I will go to put in the leaf here. So I'll have the leaf to the left and to the right, like so. You can just sort of give that a little bit of shape here. So see, I broke a little tip off of there, and don't worry about that too much, okay? I'm just going to give you this nice look for the leaves. Remember, these can be used individually as well. Just going to tape down with the gray or white floral tape to the bottom of the 22 gauge wire. Okay, so this is going to be your sort of how the leaves will look, and then I'm going to show you now how I do the coloring on this. Now on my daisy leaf video, so from my sunflower and daisy leaf video, I showed how to use the daisy leaf and make them a little bit like a sort of a version of the Dusty Miller. All right, and sometimes this is called ice plant. In some countries, people call this ice plant because it's sort of white, sort of frosty looking. But as I said, this is obviously the actual made from the real leaf, so it's more natural. But you can use also, if you watch that video, you'll see how I converted the daisy leaves into this sort of look. So I'm going to move on next to the coloring of this. So moving on to the coloring, so I'm going to use some white dusting powder, all right, or this is icing whitener. So basically white dusting powder is titanium dioxide. Titanium dioxide is used in commercial sugar paste rolled fondant, and so you can buy white powder color or white dusting powder. It's basically titanium dioxide. So anyway, so you're going to take some little bit of the white powder here. Okay, so either brand could be used. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to sort of brush in the sort of the middle area of the Dusty Miller with this white. And just remember, as I said, it's sort of quite a fragile leaf, so just be a little bit careful. Don't be too heavy-handed. So titanium dioxide is generally used in powder form or in liquid form. So sometimes we use like a white gel color. But I use this for making things opaque when you're painting and that. But you're going to put this onto the, and you're going to put this also onto the back of the leaf as well. So just going to just brush this down the leaf there. Okay, and then once we've done that down the back, so the next step is going to be to take some eucalyptus. So this is the eucalyptus dust. And then that, I'm going to just sort of brush that just around the very edge. So I'm using a flat brush here. I'm just going to just sort of give like a little bit of a slightly darker color, just a little bit of contrast to the edge of the leaf. And it's just going to give this nice look to the leaf here. Just going to go around the back also. Okay, then I'm going to take some chocolate brown. So this is the chocolate brown with the cornstarch added to it. So this is going to be a little paler here. And so then you're just going to put just a little bit of brown just onto the tips here. Now, if I didn't have gray floral tape and I was using white floral tape, then I would just brush the light chocolate brown over the stem. See, so it's going to just give you that little bit of color here. Okay, so that's going to be the first step of that. Just going to move my colors out of the way. Then I'm going to bring in my steamer. So I'm going to have my steamer in a moment, and going to steam this. As I said, I showed this technique like on my poppies. I used glaze and then added colored pollen, the green pollen, to the stem of the poppy. But here, because this is not a really shiny leaf, I'm going to use just steam on this. Okay, now this is semolina. All right, so this is semolina, and what I've done here is I've just taken some of the white powder. Okay, so you just need to take a small amount, like a teaspoon of this semolina, and put in about half a teaspoon of white powder. Okay, you need quite a bit in proportion because we need to basically make this white. And I've put this into a little shaker. So this is basically just white powder and the semolina. And then you just would put the lid on this, just give that a little shake. All right, so that's going to give you the white semolina. So it's going to be just a little bit off-white because obviously it's a creamy color. And so then what we're going to do is going to bring in your steamer. So we're going to just steam the leaf here. So just going to give it a good steam. So what we're doing is we're making it actually like sticky. And then we're going to take and then we're actually going to just sprinkle this into mostly into the middle area of the leaf. Okay, so it's going to sprinkle the semolina into the middle area of the leaf. And what this is going to do is going to give you this nice sort of texture. This is just a way I found putting it on is easiest. Of course, you can also sprinkle it on, but this, as I said, works well as far as putting this onto the leaf. And you're going to get this sort of nice textural detail here with the leaf. So this is sort of how we do the, let me get rid of the semolina here. You just need to whisk this a little white, and it cleans up easily. It's just a titanium dioxide powder. There we go. And here you can see you have your, as I said, your Dusty Miller leaves ready for going onto a cake. So another beautiful leaf made with the bridal wedding foliage mold from Flower Pro. So I hope you've enjoyed you watching these various videos, these 6 videos on making the leaves that come in this one amazing mold, and have a lot of fun making them. And remember, share your creations on our Flower Pro Facebook page so everybody can see your beautiful leaves you make, and have fun working with these and trying different color combinations. Remember, if you come up with other leaves that you can make, because there are thousands of leaves using the molds, let us know, and obviously post that as well for your, as I said, Facebook family to see on Flower Pro. So until next time, happy flower making, sweet wishes. This has been Chef Nicholas Lodge. See you soon.